Hello and welcome, as it is the end of the 18th day of August 2018. My name is Derek. I'd like to welcome you to tonight's video. I don't do them all the time at nighttime, but tonight I decided to do such. Like always, everything's your own risk, own reward within the crypto game, and quite frankly, that's what's best about this game. Is it is your own risk, your own reward, your own decisions. When you, of course, are, whether you're just hodling, holding the Bitcoin or whatever ones like Ethereum and such, and just letting it go over time and having it as a measure for protecting against a possible collapse, and that's the way you're playing the game. That's the way you're playing it. There are several different ways, so many different methods that can be done in this that can bring very, very good profits. Of course, I'm not going to go over any of them in this video, but I'm going to talk about the short-term analysis among such, because it really paints an interesting picture. So within the downtrend, as we can see, you had obviously an up move from this peak or this bottom to this high. That's obvious to see. And it ended up breaking down below support here. And that was a correct move, or not of a failed move. Because after it broke below, it resisted here, resisted again, resisted through time after what was a very nice leg lower in game theory from this move to the next one, and a bigger move down from here. Each low that came after that was just barely lower, and it had maintained basically a sideways consolidation range, and it's looking pretty decent as I see it play out just by looking at it as measured. But what's been going on recently, well, let's take a look at this with less candles. Several periods in which it showed strength amongst the 18 in here. This is a very, very beautiful pattern. But as it had several hits of resistance amongst here, and it was making its breakout on this period, that is when this thing was supposed to get going. It obviously never did such. Any pullbacks, you would have been looking for really this area in here, which was actually resistance to be support. And it showed that it was looking weak short term, and just after I finished my crypto day morning, it had this move. And since the move has begun, well, we've gotten some resistance amongst what is now a newly declining 18 average of lows. So now the question mark is this uptrend over? And are we going to fill some of this down gap? Question mark. When gandering at the 1 hour time frame, there we have the interesting situation of a move lower, but the move lower is in retracement from in here. So it has still managed to stay above this, and it's still probably the area I'd be looking for it to go towards, even pierce below, if it's going to have a leg lower from here. And it looks like there's going to be such, but for as short term as this is, I'm looking for a move to go to around 6,200, which is only a differential of like a couple percent only on the 15-minute time frame. This is where the pattern to me gets pretty interesting, as you have from that down move that happened pretty fast, and that's what these up and down moves are going to oftentimes contain, are really quick moves that take you from point high to low, or from point low to high. and a very clear support and resistance range drawn in on these two lines. So this is the typical failed breakout move that I've seen. As what happens is it breaks a key level, spends little time to its point, and it comes back to where it comes from, and it starts trading within such, and that's what's happened. See, on a move, you want to see support come back to where you come from, and that's resistance, and thus a quick move back to its previous congestion area. And it's obviously leaving the 18 as it is shown. And this is just merely going over short-term analysis for when it comes down to it. And I look back at the market, say on August the 20th, 2019, I'm not going to care what happened on the short-term movement, because it's just that, it's short term, and it's really not going to define what the next few months is going to be. Whether from here over the next many hours the price, say, has a decent move below 6,000, even towards into the fives, and who knows, even lower than that, or if it rallies up to 7, it's to me going to make absolutely no difference whatsoever. And within the year that we've been seeing, I look at bear markets as lower highs, lower lows, and bull markets as higher highs and higher lows. And since it broke down below the 18 in here, which would have been the first stage in leaving the bull market, it had a low here. Now, technically, this was a higher low from the last time it was below the 18 of lows. But it was a big retracement nonetheless, and a large fall from the 18 of lows from where it was, going from 12,000. Now, even though this low here in April is technically higher, and the low in June is technically lower, they're both microscopically higher and lower. They're matching lows as far as I'm concerned. But the lower highs have been nothing more than just that, lower highs, and thus what one would consider that of a bear market rally. But if I use the 18 as the indicator for the higher highs and higher lows, I see the 18 average up in here. I see it went lower here with this going lower. I see the 18 lows in here going lower. So multiple times on each low, the 18 lows have made lower lows during the matching lows. And one big reason for that is the size of the moves. When you look at the size of the moves in here compared to here, well, this had bigger moves, and these were gigantic size moves, as these moves that brought the market down to 6,000 were smaller. And that's normal for markets, that when you get into situations when you have a heavy move to one level, if you just congest and stay in any type of neutral bases like that, each rally and sell-off can become weaker, either by size, which is surely the case on the upside, or by just length of duration time, as the amount of time that it took before to get from, say, 10,000 to 6,000. This took 2 periods to go below it on the 3-day, so less than a week. To go from 10,000, even 12,000, took less than a week to get to there. Then from here, it was, I'm just going to remove the drawing tool so I can count a little bit easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you're talking about a month for this move. And this move from even a lower point, because this was from 12 or 11 change, 11.5, you have 30% longer here. You go from April 28th to June 24th. So you're talking about like a 6-week time gap But that's where we're looking at lower highs and lower lows. So if the 18 lows is to continue the trend and make a lower low, that means the 18 lows would have to come down towards here. Price action would have to have a significant break below the 5 number. And that's on the if situation, because we cannot continue to hold this in this manner. And this range has got to end at one point or another, because the more likely you test these support levels, the more likely it is you take it out. And when it comes down to it, I look at this on a monthly chart, and I'm going to choose, say, a 12-day. What I'm seeing is a correctionary move within an uptrend. So what's the opposite of a bear market rally? Well, a bull market sell-off. And any situation that brings price action to some of this empty space in here, well, that is going to be, to me, a bull market sell-off, because the longer term time frame has this big up move. And that's what happens in markets. You're going to have decent corrections after every now and again, either through that of price and or time, and then it comes to an end. So really, a situation like this overall, this is going to go through my head, that this is really the start of, or move of, it's one of two things. It's either just that, the bull market correction or bull market sell-off, or it's the start of the big collapse in cryptos, which I've heard a lot of people talking about how cryptos can't survive, they're dead and all that type of nonsense. But they've been saying that for quite some time. And I'm looking at what is normal market behavior. And in situations where you have key bottoms, like in here, you had a situation where you had major support roughly at around, just in this area here. This originally came there in December of 2015, and it left it in September of 2014. So roughly around the same period, 3/4 of a year from what we had. It only had one leg lower, albeit it was a slow move low, meaning it didn't do it in like a couple of periods, it did it in several. And it spent several periods trading within that range before finally getting going. And the same thing could even happen again. I'm not making any type of parlay predictions that are just going to, well, all my parlay bets pretty much lose. And I play them all the time, where you play like 9, 10, 12 game, mostly for different types of pool-based stuff. But a situation like this could easily manifest itself through where maybe it spends another year. It breaks down to 3,000. Might take 4 months to get there, or 3 months to get there, 2 months, whatever. And then spend the next 14 months trading between 3,000 and 6,500. And then gets going after that. No, but I don't think that'll happen, but that's still something bullishly that would make sense if, of course, an event like that is to take place. But what it comes down to, when you look at reversal and trend, okay, don't know why it did that, but you're in a situation. I'm going to go back to I'm going to do this on the 3-day. And back at this time frame, this is end of 2013. And as stated before in this video, that this area around 418 and then again piercing down to 346 became the interesting original support level. And when it came down to it the first time, it came to the 18 and then left it. Thus, that started the 18 in declining mode. Hit this low, 18 it again, you match it, and now here's a situation where stage 1, band flatten out, stage 2, establish resistance, stage 3, come back to the band. If you were waiting for the breakout above here, that never happened, and there was no reason to go long if you are using that as a method to be getting back in or into a market on strength. So therefore, it came back down to this level in here. This time, it resisted it on several occasions, never really getting above the 18. And this is when it got interesting, because now you had a small move above the 18, you came back to the band, you technically broke out, but it didn't do it for long. It came back and obviously fell to the bottom end of the range. Then if we look further, this is when things changed. It had its breakout in here, and this is where it gets scary in trying to play on strength, because if you have a situation where it's up like this, it's okay, we were at 233, now it's at 326. It's been up every single period on the 3-day chart anyway for like several days in a row. Now, if you were waiting for it to come back to where it came from, you would have got hit. You would have got the win, because that's one way of looking at strategy methods for entry points, is you have a significant break like this. Now I wanted to come back to that level of support, and you'd be looking here, the obvious spot would be 300, and buying a little bit above like 301, 302. Well, the low here is 294, so it would have obviously worked out. But then you get good indications here, and as you're looking at what was obviously staying in a downtrend, this is a situation back here where it sustained an uptrend. But even just looking at it from this point, there is a good run higher that it had. It established support. It most certainly established its resistance. It established it more, and then on the break, see, I talk about in here how much it sucks to buy here because it's up so much, yet that's the mathematical number time or the break signal for when to do it. This is how I prefer it, playing the type of game like this, is you have multiple hits of this support area, and as it is clearly broken above, if you're fast enough, that worked out to be a very good buy spot. And then from that point, the market just kept going and going and going. As you can see, every single time it went below the 18, it didn't do it for long. And it made several higher highs along the way, as we now see it towards where we stand today. That full run up from that point, that breakout level right in here, is when it got it going. So what kind of setups this will end up having and where on the bullish side, well, time will tell, because not every single time that a setup says, okay, bear market's over, it's time to go long, it's not too late. In fact, we're doing it so like you get in now, expect gains to be immediate, and expect to have be on the good side of things, because obviously entering into this position here worked out to be a phenomenal play. And you just have to let time run its course. And again, as we're looking for the situation on this, band flatten out, have a decent break above the 18, then come back to it, to the 18 highs, to the lows. It can pierce below, which is what's happened here. and then eventually take it out. So as it stands now, it's all about right around here. You see the market come up to around 89.50. That's when you would give yourself the state, okay, this is now just broken past it. It's noticeably above it, but not much above it. And oftentimes you're going to have to be really, really fast when markets have significant breakouts and that of breakdowns. Thank you for tuning into this little more of an in-depth technical analysis video, but I've been bored. So there you go. A longer video for tonight, and I'll be back with you on Sunday morning on the crypto day morning. Take care. Bye-bye.